费城聚焦，关注费城的人和事。今天我们就费城教育改革问题专访市政府议员吴大卫。
What kind of impact will this have on the performance of all students in general in the magnet schools?
The School District of Philadelphia implemented a new process of selecting students to go to magnet high schools or criteria-based schools. There are 37 magnet schools in Philadelphia according to the school district website. In all of but 2 schools, the student population that is the largest population in these magnet schools is African American. But 2 schools, Central High School and Masterman, they are not the largest population. They are smaller than the percentage of African Americans in the city and smaller than the population of African American students who attend the Philadelphia Public School. So the school district instituted a new process. What they did is they are looking at the grade point average. For example, you have an A or a B. But the schools are all different. An A in this school is not the same as an A in that school. But what they did is they got rid of the standardized test. The standardized test, or PSSA, is a test that every student could take in order to be considered for a magnet school. And that way, even if 2 students both have A's, one has a 85 percentile, the other one has a 99 percentile, so you would select the student with the higher standardized test. So the school district got rid of the standardized test. They also have an essay, that is, you write like why you want to go to this school, what you want to be, what difficulties you overcame, things like that. But now it's graded by a computer. But the computer specifically says, do not grade the essay. That computer program is simply to help the teacher find issues and help the student write. So specifically, you are not supposed to grade the essay with the computer program. It also disadvantages children who grow up in a bilingual household, or if they are immigrants, or if they are learning English as a second language, or if their parents do not know English, because they may be able to write a wonderful essay about how they overcame difficulties and challenges from Africa, from the Middle East, from China. Yeah, talk about their lives and what they want to do, who they want to be. Maybe they overcame tragedies, maybe they want to do really good things, but the computer cannot tell. It can only judge certain things. So the next thing, they are, to my knowledge, not going through recommendation letters. So if a student volunteered at a hospital, volunteered at a community organization, loves, to do certain, clean up the neighborhood, that type of thing, that no letters of recommendation. So now it appears that the school district is going to take students, not the highest GPA, but what they call qualified, which the school district said could be B's. So if that's true, you could have a student who has all A's, a student who has all B's. They're both going to go into a lottery, and the one with B's could be selected. On top of that, it's not just a lottery. The school district is selecting certain zip codes. And they're going to be a lottery with a little bit of favoritism or a lot of favoritism for them. So it's not really a lottery. It's not a fair lottery. It's a fixed lottery to give advantage to certain people. The question is, how much advantage and from what zip code? Because in one zip code, there are poor people, there are rich people, there's a whole variety of people. So you may have right across the street from this zip code a family that is poor, that is struggling, where they have a child who's worked really hard, who's done a lot of great things, and has scored a 98th percentile in the PSSA, all A student. But when the lottery is done, it is weighted in favor of a student who did not do as well. So that's not fair to this student. Now, if this student is in fact the student they want to help, African American, poor, and all that, and then the student who got in is a wealthy white student who live in the zip code, how is that equity? So why do we have this very strange system? And I believe there's a very serious question that this is a fake system. They are talking about 37 schools, but 35 of the schools, I believe, from what I've seen, the largest population in terms of the racial group is black. But in 2 schools, Masterman Central, Masterman has a large population of white students and then Asian. Central has a large population of Asian students and then white. It looks like they want to change the demographics. They want to reduce the number of Asian students, increase the number of black students and Hispanic students. It is okay to want to do that. Maybe they should improve education in those neighborhoods. Maybe they should put algebra and a language. Maybe if they don't have that, they could offer a program to any student to come and get extra studying and extra help and extra credit and all those type of things. But instead of improving education, they're taking the students who meet the criteria best and just not accepting them. They don't want to accept them. It's suspicious because we've seen this in New York, where Mayor de Blasio, he basically just said, too many Asians, I want to cut the number in half, I want to increase the other races in the school. But he didn't improve education, he didn't help them test better, he just is against the Asian students. And the question is why? And I believe this gets to a very serious problem in America. Many people do not know Asian American history, or they don't care. They believe that Asians took advantage of the hard work and struggles of other people, and Asians, by supporting racism and white supremacy, are being put into businesses, jobs, and schools by white supremacists as a way of attacking and hurting black people. That makes black people hate Asian people. And we saw in Christine Liu case on the Broad Street subway, a group of young black girls attack Asian boys and then attack her. That, we believe, is a result of when the government and institutions like universities and high schools and a lot of the media, which are, respected media, continue to tell a false story about Asians. They tell a false story about history, and then you will find that also when we take up this issue of unconstitutional illegal discrimination, like the bulletproof glass, like the closing of Chinese restaurants at 11 p.m., that a lot of the Asian American groups do not come and support the Asian American community because they feel conflicted. They don't want to, take a side that they think is Asian versus black. It's not. But they do not want to get involved. They get involved when it's discrimination against black people. They get involved when it's discrimination against Middle Eastern people. They get involved when it's LGBTQ. But when it's Chinese or Asian, they don't get involved. Why not? because they're the product of an educational system at the universities and other places that vilify Asians. They themselves don't know Asian American history. And so they do not want to come support the Asian community. And I think that is a very serious problem. So when we have young Asian Americans saying that Asian Americans are discriminatory against black people, that's a very terrible thing. It's not true. And but who is publicizing that? The news media and places like that. So a lot of times Asians, especially people who got here recently, they don't know the whole history. They wonder, how come people hate me and hate my children? They hate my community. This is the reason why. So, you know, for example, we have a lot of Asian Americans, such as the Chinese Restaurant Association, the Chinese Business Association, Korean business, who do a lot of things to support the black community. It's not on the news. It's not publicized. A lot of people don't know that. So they only see, you know, the story about how Asians took advantage or hurt black people. And that is a story a lot of white people tell. But telling the story about how Asian Americans served this country, helped the city, helped you know, African American students in school, you know, very soon I am going to be presenting school items to two schools, mostly black and Hispanic, where an Asian American business person donated $20,000 to purchase these things. He does it every year, and he is on the news, but a lot of people still don't know, because even though they hear the story, they still think that mostly Asian Americans do not contribute to helping African Americans. And I think it is very important that we do not allow the media to continue to vilify Asian Americans. And we also have to stand up for our own rights. You know, we have seen that other people will not stand up for the rights of Asians, and even Asians, especially those born and raised in the suburbs of this country, where they actually have very few black friends themselves, are very quick to criticize the Asian community, while the Asian community lives and works with a lot of minorities, including African Americans, and supports. But you know, they are quick to criticize the Asian, especially immigrant community. But the immigrant community has contributed through African American politicians, through institutions like schools and colleges, a lot more than they have. So, you know, this is kind of the problem that we have. So we have a hearing on Wednesday of next week, December the 15th at, I think it is it 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So, you know, it's a virtual hearing, which means it's not live. People have to call my office, 215-686-3452, 215-686-3452, to get registered. Now, because we have to televise this hearing, the time is short. If we didn't have to televise it, because instead of doing it virtually, we were doing it live, we could be here till 10 o'clock at night, no problem. But now, because we have to televise it, the television station will not allow us to take from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, so we have 9 to 12. So if 100 people want to speak, they're not all going to speak. So we have to ask them, are you for or against? What is your telephone number? And then we will try to get a proportionate number of people. What I mean is, if you have 100 people for and 50 people against, we cannot have 150 people testify. We will take 10 and 5. That is a representative number. So I have to know the 100 people are for 50 people are against, we're going to take 10, we're going to take 5, that's fair. So that's why we ask, are you for and against? Then we need the telephone number, because when the virtual hearing is on, the city council staff will then call each person who signed up to testify, and then they'll testify by telephone. So they can watch the hearing at the PHL Council website, or on Channel 64 on Xfinity, or Channel 40 on FiOS. But when they testify, they have to do it with a phone call. So we're going to try to collect that information. I think it is very important that people who are very concerned about this, and they should be concerned. You know, I think fundamentally one of the big problems is this. Currently, the way it is, it's up to you. If you don't want to study, you don't want to go to magnet school, if your parents do not support you, I'm sorry, but this is a matter of who works hard, who tries hard, who gives up certain things in order to try to get into school. Sometimes it has to do with native intelligence or talent or things like that. That is about a fair process as we got, and it reflects the real world. That means self-determination. On the other hand, what the school system is putting in is no self-determination. Well, to some extent, you can be in the area of good grades, but don't take that PSSA. You don't have to. We're going to select you, but we're going to manipulate it a little bit to try to get those people in instead of you. The school district should not be doing that. If they want to help certain communities, neighborhoods, or people, they can with extra work, extra credit, extra education. That's not a problem. But this just not helping people and just getting rid of, you know, the ability for people to make a better life for themselves, that is a huge problem, and it is, I think, also illegal.
Yeah, I know the Asian community, many have expressed their concerns that their parents are, you know, they say their child worked so hard for their grades, and now they're being thrown into a lottery system. Their child already.
Well, that's the school district's point. They don't believe that students should be selected by hard work. They believe that the students should be selected kind of randomly and favoring certain geographic areas.
And then there's another problem where parents have like multiple childs, and if they go selected into 3 different schools, that creates another problem for these families, and that's
so there are a lot of problems. The point that I think is critical is we can make a better system, but this is not a better system, and there is every reason to try to do something better.
So I think what the Asian community, what the Chinese community wants to know, a lot of parents want to know, like, you know, from this point on, is that what can they do? Is it set for their child? Because their child took the test last week, and many are very devastated. So they are.
Well, this is the problem. The school district already did it. Like, they didn't tell anybody. They said they did, but they didn't. A few people knew, but even now, even I, a city council person, I don't even know what the system is. What's the way, where? So that's why we're having a hearing. What they should do is they should participate. They should not give up. And then, no matter how bad things are today, you don't want them to be bad tomorrow, and next you want them to get better. So they have to start engaging in the political process by voting and doing things like that. They also have to be careful, words versus action. A lot of politicians can say a lot of things, it sounds good, but you have to see what they do, not what they say. You can match what they say with what they do. And, you know, that is the issue. If they only hear what someone says, the person says this in front of them, says something else someplace else, does something completely different. Like everything else, they have to know who is saying what they're doing, and what they're telling other people. So, for example, on this issue about the school selection process, this is a resolution introduced by me with the support of Cindy Bass and Mark Squila and Catherine Gilmore Richardson. That is 4 people. I do the introduction, I get 3 people to sign on. Where are the other people? We're going to find out. So no matter what they say, what are they doing? And then at the end of the day, what the Chinese community wants is they want this process stopped. Because the old process was better than this process. But how will we stop this process and go back to the old process? In the meantime, let the school and other people figure out if we could do a better system. We want a better, not a worse system. So first you got to stop this. In order to stop it, you need the school board to stop it. But the school board does not respond to people. There are 9 members of the school board. They are not elected by the people. They are appointed by the mayor. And so they don't need to talk to the people. They don't talk to the people. So I did a bill when the mayor cannot appoint all 9. He can appoint 4. People will elect 5. That way they will know who represents their children and them in schools and why their school is not better than another school.
And within the Chinese community, I know many of them signed on to watch the hearing last night, and they were questioning, like, they asked for diversity, but yet on a panel they were saying how come that panel wasn't that diverse, like, or many of you within the Chinese community were commenting I guess they didn't understand that it was appointed by, they thought
Appointed by the mayor, right?
So yeah, so they didn't
So,
understand that. They said, why is the panel like not diverse?
There's no Chinese on the
Yeah,
panel, right?
Yeah, that's
There's
what
none
they
of the 9 are
That's what
Chinese.
many
There's
are
no
complaining.
Asians on there. And the school district has a appointed board, so the board doesn't have to listen to people. And when they say diversity, they don't mean diversity. They mean African American or Latino. They don't mean white. They don't mean Asian. But when we look at the makeup of the schools, every child should have a good education. One of the problems is that there are not many good schools in Philadelphia. And so everyone tries to get into the same schools. There are not enough seats. The school district needs to improve education, make more good schools, take schools in poor neighborhoods and improve them. That's a more important thing they need to do.
And I know there are some parent that, they used to live in other states, and they say some of these other states have certain, school system where they had, magnet program within the catchment, where they could bring students up from that.
Yeah, they could do, listen, they can, within one school, they could have a
magnet program within that
magnet
catchment.
program within each school.
Yeah, within each
See,
school.
the problem is they're making people fight.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to say
more
it's
magnet seats.
this group versus that group
Yeah.
versus not enough black, not enough Asian, not enough Hispanic, not enough white.
I see.
We shouldn't be fighting with each other that way, but the school district is making people hate each other
Yeah.
by race, by ethnicity, by immigration status. So I oppose what they're doing. But
That's the sentiment.
we're on camera, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying publicly, I oppose what they're doing, and I put in a resolution for a hearing, and I'm critical. Where are the other council people? So, the Chinese community should also note, where are the other council people on the bulletproof glass? Where are the other council people on the Chinese restaurant, closing Chinese restaurants? Where are they on all these issues?
Yeah, I think a lot of them, a lot of the Chinese community, a lot of them, they don't understand. Many of them, they just, whoever comes out to get their, ask for their support, they just support them. They don't know what the policy is.
They
A lot of
have
times
to, they have to start to learn.
I think they're starting to now. Many of them are.
Yeah,
Even
they
within
have-
the Chinese community, it's divided. There's a group that does know, and then they support a certain side, and then there's a group that are just for
Wow.
publicity, and they just
Yeah,
So they are, even within that group,
community, they're gonna have to learn for
slowly,
themselves. There's no
slowly they have
easy
to
way to
correct.
do it.
Even within that, I think that after this recent Christina Liu incident, many have, started to become more aware and become active in their child education and have been responding, and
Yeah.
have gotten more involved with the.
When we make a good education system for Chinese people,
Yeah.
we make a good education system for everybody else. When we make the train safe for a Chinese person, we make it safe for everyone else. We're not trying to make a system better for Chinese or Koreans or Cambodians,
It's
just
for
for everyone.
Indeed.
But you cannot victimize Chinese. You cannot victimize Asian. You cannot victimize black or white or Hispanic.
Indeed.
But if you're victimizing us, we have to stand up because nobody's standing up for us, standing up on the right principle. So I stand up for Asians the same as I stand up for African Americans or Caucasians or Hispanics. It's based on the law, it's based on justice, it's based on best practice.
And the Chinese community, I know they know about a case down in Virginia, I think. They were asking they did the same thing with the school district down there, and I think there's like a lawsuit, they filed a lawsuit.
Well, there are different reasons to file lawsuits, but here in Philadelphia, like with the 11 p.m. ordinance, which was targeting Chinese takeout restaurants and closing them at 11 o'clock and fining them $2,000 and putting them out of business, the city would not change that. So for over a year, I tried to get the mayor and the city council to change that law. They did not. Finally, through the Asian American Legal Defense Fund, they got a Philadelphia law firm, a big firm. You got to have a lot of money to sue the city. If you just don't have enough money, you cannot threaten the city. Same thing with the school district. You cannot just have some lawyer go threaten the school district. They have to have enough money to sue them over a long period of time and fight them. So I hope to get the Asian American Legal Defense Fund, one of the few Asian American groups that actually stands up and fights for Asians. I hope to get them involved in this case. And then I think it is very important for the Chinese community and every other Asian community to ask, where's the Governor's Commission on Asian American Affairs? Where's the Mayor's Commission on Asian American Affairs? Where are all these Asian American, commissions and groups? Where are they on this issue? Have they come out yet? Have they said this is wrong? Are they standing with the Asian community? So far, not really, right? They didn't stand during the bulletproof glass, and it was very difficult to get one or two to stand during the Chinese takeout restaurant issue. But we had African Americans come out to stand with the Chinese restaurants. We have African Americans to stand on the bulletproof glass. We have Caucasians and Hispanics. But where are the Asian Americans? So while they want to be a leader of the Asian American community, whenever we have discrimination that does not involve white people, we don't hear from them. And we need to hear from them. So certainly they should step up and be heard. And for a lot of Chinese parents, their kids are doing things with Asian organizations. Ask the kids, did your organization join you in fighting against this? And I could say right now the answer is no. So why do you keep sending your children to these groups?
I guess what else? So in terms of the, I guess they're just asking about also the hearing, I guess on the 15th. I know they already know, many of them they already know about it, so it's within the community, it's been spread around. They know about the hearing, but many don't know what it's about, so this is why we are here to
The hearing on Wednesday is providing people an opportunity to speak, because they are just now learning that the school district put in a new program that they don't like. Now, the school district already did it. I cannot stop the school district from doing it. So people have to get together and tell the school district, we don't like what you've done. Then we have to tell them why it's wrong. And then with that, we can try to get enough people to agree the school district should make a better system, but this is not a better system, it's a worse system. And maybe it's an illegal system. So you should stop what you're doing and let the schools go back to make their selections and work on a better system if you want to, but this is not it. So when African Americans and Asian Americans and Caucasians and Hispanics all get together and say this is a wrong thing to do, we hope that the elected officials will then tell the school district you have to stop what you're doing, you know, and the elected officials should exercise their power, the power of money. In other words, the elected officials give the school district money and just tell them, you keep doing this, you will not get the money from us.